Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder. Today TRUG just filed a notice of delisting and I am seeing one red flag that matters. Quick note, this is not financial advice, just my take on public filings for educational purposes. TruGolf is on the brink of losing its Nasdaq listing due to low stockholders' equity, and their plan to fix it is a long shot. Alright, let's dive into this filing from TruGolf Holdings Incorporated. It is an 8K, which is basically a report for significant events that shareholders need to know about right away. The main story here is about TruGolf's listing status on the Nasdaq stock market. On the 19th of August 2026, they got a letter from Nasdaq saying they are not meeting the minimum stockholders' equity requirement. This is a pretty big deal for any publicly traded company. Nasdaq has a rule that companies need to have at least $2.5 million in stockholders' equity. TruGolf's latest report showed they only had about $2.06 million. That is a shortfall of nearly $500,000. Even though the stock symbol TRUG is still trading, this notice is a serious warning. Now, Nasdaq isn't just kicking them off immediately. They've given TruGolf 45 days until the 5th of October 2026 to come up with a plan to get back into compliance. If Nasdaq accepts this plan, they could give TruGolf an extension, potentially up to the 15th of February 2027. To actually show they fixed the problem, but if the plan isn't accepted, TruGolf can appeal and their stock would stay listed during that appeal process. The ultimate goal is to get that stockholders' equity back up to that $2.5 million mark. TruGolf says they are looking at different ways to solve this problem and plan to submit their proposal to Nasdaq before the deadline. However, they are also being upfront that there is no guarantee they will succeed in meeting the requirement or keeping their listing. This is a classic situation where a company is trying to avoid delisting. There is also some other interesting stuff happening with TruGolf. They recently entered into an agreement to acquire a Canadian company called Polymath Research Incorporated. This acquisition is expected to bring a tokenization innovator to the public markets. It seems like TruGolf is trying to grow and diversify, perhaps as a way to boost its financial standing. They also had some activity with their series of preferred stock. Between the 18th of August and 21st of 2026, a significant amount of this preferred stock, worth about $1.5 million, was converted into common stock. This conversion increased the number of common shares outstanding, and as of the 21st of August 2026, TruGolf had roughly 4.57 million shares of Class A common stock outstanding. This kind of conversion can impact the value of existing shares because you have more shares representing the same company. The report is signed by Stephen Passy, the Chief Financial Officer, on the 21st of August 2026. Looking at this filing, TruGolf is in a tough spot with Nasdaq. The low stockholders' equity is a clear sign of financial strain. While they are trying to address it through acquisitions and stock conversions, the immediate threat is maintaining their listing. A delisting could make it much harder for them to raise capital and for investors to trade their shares. Historically, companies facing delisting warnings often see further stock price declines. For example, when Kodak did a 1-for-20 reverse split back in 2021, shareholders eventually saw about a 40% drop over the next 90 days. A $1,000 investment back then would have shrunk to around $600. TruGolf's situation is a direct warning about financial health. The risk I'm watching is whether their plan to increase stockholders' equity is viable or just a temporary fix. What I'm actually looking for is a clear path to profitability that boosts their equity significantly. Oh, and the research tools I actually use are linked in the description. They help keep this channel going. That is my take. Stay decoded if this analysis was valuable. Hitting that like button really helps, and subscribe for more deep dives. Join our Discord community, link in description.